Have you ever noticed that the harder you chase something, the further it seems to move away? It's almost like life plays a strange game with us. The more desperate we are to have something, the more it hides. But the moment we stop chasing, stop begging, and finally breathe, everything we once ran after begins to find us. Why does it happen? Because what you chase from emptiness can never fill you, only what you become can. We grow up believing that movement is everything, that to stop is to fail. We're told, keep going, keep pushing, never stop chasing. And so we run endlessly after dreams, people, recognition, and validation. But few ever pause to ask a simple question: what if the constant running is what's keeping us lost? You see, chasing is often disguised as ambition, but at its core, it's usually fear, fear of being left behind, fear of being unseen, fear of not being enough. And so we fill our calendars, we fill our minds, we fill every silence with effort, because we mistake noise for progress. But have you noticed how exhausting that becomes? The more you chase, the more distant the goal seems to move. The faster you run, the more disconnected you feel. She lived like that once, believing that happiness lived somewhere just beyond her next achievement, her next relationship, her next win. But every time she reached what she thought would complete her, it slipped through her fingers. It wasn't because life was unfair. It was because she was chasing from emptiness. When your pursuit is fueled by lack, no amount of accomplishment can fill it. One day, she stopped, not because she gave up, but because she grew tired of the noise. In that stillness, something strange happened. She didn't fall apart. She didn't lose everything. Instead, she saw herself clearly for the first time. She realized she had been running from her own silence, her own truth. The quiet she once feared became the space where she began to heal. Stopping didn't make her weaker, it made her aware. It allowed her to see that all along, life wasn't asking her to run harder. It was asking her to listen deeper. The moment she stopped chasing, she stopped resisting, and what she was running after began to find its way to her, naturally, without force. Sometimes the most powerful step you can take isn't forward, it's inward, because the distance between you and everything you seek is not measured in miles or effort, it's measured in awareness. When you stop chasing what's outside, you finally discover what's been waiting for you inside. Everything in this world responds to energy. It's not mystical, it's psychological and deeply human. The energy you carry is the signal you send out, and the world mirrors it back to you. When you chase something with a sense of lack, your entire being vibrates with the message, "I don't have it." And life, like a mirror, reflects that truth right back. You attract more situations that reinforce the feeling of not having. She began to notice this subtle law in her own life. The harder she tried to grasp success, the further it seemed to drift. The more she clung to people for love, the more they pulled away. It wasn't the world rejecting her, it was her energy repelling what she wanted most. You can't attract abundance when your focus is rooted in fear. You can't receive peace while your thoughts are broadcasting chaos. So she made a small but powerful shift from chasing to appreciating. Instead of asking, "Why don't I have this?" she began asking, "What do I already have that reflects what I desire?" That single question changed everything. Gratitude shifted her vibration from emptiness to fullness, and her life started responding differently. Opportunities that once felt distant began appearing with ease. People who resonated with her new calmness started entering her world. This isn't magic, it's alignment. Your attention is a form of energy. Wherever you place it, life expands. Focus on lack, and lack grows. Focus on growth, and growth responds. It's not about pretending to be positive. It's about consciously redirecting your attention toward what empowers you, not what drains you. She learned that energy is not something you create. It's something you tune into. The moment she stopped sending out signals of desperation and started embodying peace, the universe began to mirror her inner world. Her reality transformed not because she forced it to, but because she finally became a match for what she was asking for. If you want to change what life is giving you, change what you are radiating, because life doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your energy. And when your inner world says, "I already am," life finally answers, "Here it is." Letting go is one of the hardest lessons we face, not because it's complicated, but because the mind equates release with loss. We hold on to people, dreams, and identities, convincing ourselves that letting go means giving up. But the truth is, sometimes what we call holding on is actually fear wearing the mask of loyalty. We cling because we don't trust what life will look like without the thing we're gripping so tightly. She lived in that tension for years, trying to control every outcome, forcing connections to stay, pushing situations to work. She believed effort was love and persistence was power. But in that struggle, she began to see the subtle truth. What demands constant force to stay was never truly meant to belong. The things that are aligned with your path don't require you to beg, chase, or suffer to keep them. They stay because they fit. When she finally loosened her grip, she realized that letting go wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a declaration of trust. Trust in herself, trust in life's rhythm, trust that what leaves creates space for what's right. And in that act of release, she discovered strength she didn't know she had, the strength to be at peace, even when things were uncertain. Philosophically, letting go is the dissolution of attachment, the understanding that peace doesn't come from control, but from acceptance. When you resist what's leaving, you create suffering. When you accept its departure, you open the door to freedom. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You honor what was, but you don't imprison yourself in it. She stopped fighting life's natural flow, and in that surrender, life began to reveal its deeper intelligence. Opportunities that once felt blocked began to move freely. Emotional weight she thought was permanent started to lift. She didn't lose herself by letting go. She found herself in the space that remained. Sometimes the only way to receive more is to stop grasping at what's already fading. Letting go doesn't close doors, it opens the ones you couldn't see before. The hands that are willing to release are the only ones truly open to receive. Stillness is one of the most uncomfortable spaces for the modern mind. We are so used to noise, external and internal, that silence feels almost threatening. The moment things get quiet, thoughts begin to surface, emotions rise, and truth starts to whisper. That's why so many people keep themselves distracted. It's not the world they fear losing touch with, it's themselves. But stillness isn't the absence of progress, it's the presence of awareness. She used to believe that slowing down meant falling behind. Every pause felt like a risk, every moment of rest like wasted time. But when she finally allowed herself to be still, something unexpected happened, clarity emerged. In that silence, she began to see patterns. How much of her effort came from fear. How often her decisions were driven by pressure rather than purpose. The chaos she once blamed on the world was actually the noise inside her. Philosophically, stillness is the gateway to perception. When the surface of water is disturbed, you can't see your reflection. But once it calms, everything becomes visible. The same is true for the mind. Stillness doesn't give you new answers. It reveals the ones that were buried under constant movement. She realized that every no she had faced, every delay, every detour, had been guiding her towards something she couldn't yet see. The universe wasn't silent, she was simply too loud to hear it. In that quiet, she began to trust life again. She no longer needed to control the pace of her journey. She learned to listen instead of react, to observe instead of rush. And what followed was transformation, not the kind that announces itself with noise, but the kind that happens quietly, deeply, and permanently. The irony of stillness is that it moves you more than constant motion ever could. When she stopped running and finally sat in the silence, she discovered that what she was chasing had been walking beside her all along. The answers you seek are not hiding in the distance. They're waiting in the quiet places you refuse to go. Sometimes stillness doesn't slow your journey. It reveals the path you were meant to take all along. Alignment is one of those truths that can't be faked. You can pretend to be confident, you can act calm, you can say the right words, but life doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. Every thought, every emotion, every intention carries a frequency, and that frequency determines what flows into your life and what quietly fades away. For a long time, she thought success and peace were things she needed to fight for. She chased, she struggled, she hustled. But she noticed something strange. The harder she tried to control life, the more resistance she met. Things felt heavy, forced, and unnatural. Then one day, she asked herself a question that shifted everything. What if the reason it's not working is because I'm not aligned with it? Alignment doesn't mean inaction. It means movement that feels natural, not strained. When your intentions match your inner state, life stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a rhythm. The right people show up, the right opportunities appear, not because you manipulated circumstances, but because your inner energy became a clear signal. When she learned to act from peace instead of panic, life began to meet her halfway. This is the paradox most people miss. Effort without alignment creates exhaustion, but alignment without effort creates flow. You still take action, but it's guided, not desperate. You're no longer trying to force life to respond. You're allowing it to cooperate with who you've become. And when that shift happens, life becomes lighter. You begin to notice that what is truly meant for you doesn't demand struggle. It fits like breath fits the body. She stopped pushing and started aligning. She stopped chasing validation and started embodying calm. And almost effortlessly, the things she had been pursuing began to move toward her, not because she was lucky, but because she finally became a match for them. When you are aligned, you no longer chase what's missing. You attract what's natural. And the moment your inner world becomes still, clear, and certain, life responds not with resistance, but with recognition. Chasing is built on a subtle illusion, the belief that we are not yet enough. Every pursuit born from that feeling carries the same energy of incompleteness. It says, once I achieve this, then I'll be happy. Once I'm loved, then I'll feel worthy. But that then never arrives, because the mind that seeks from lack can't recognize fulfillment, even when it stands right in front of it. She realized this after years of striving, trying to become something in order to deserve what she desired. But every time she reached a milestone, the satisfaction was temporary. Her inner voice would whisper, "What's next?" And that constant reaching made her realize that she wasn't chasing the goal, she was chasing herself. the part of her that believed she needed to become more in order to be enough. Then one day, something shifted. She stopped asking, "What do I need to do to deserve peace?" and started asking, "What if I simply embody peace?" That question changed the entire direction of her life. She began to see that life doesn't give you what you demand, it mirrors what you embody. If you carry love, you attract love. If you radiate calm, you create calm. When you stop seeking validation from the outside, the world starts responding to your inner certainty. Philosophically, this is the transformation from seeking to being. Seeking implies absence. Being affirms presence. She didn't have to chase love anymore because she became it. She didn't need to prove her worth because she started living from it. And that subtle shift from striving to embodying turned her energy from restless to magnetic. The very thing she had been running after began to arrive without force, without resistance. This is not about inaction, it's about transformation. You don't attract by wanting, you attract by becoming. The work is not to search harder, but to align deeper. When she finally stopped trying to become someone else, she realized she already was everything she had been searching for. And maybe that's the final truth. Life begins to serve you the moment you stop running from the truth of who you already are.